Well, I can't believe it after all of these years that I'm really back into DayZ. I never really thought this day would come, to be completely honest with you. And I'm sure there's many of you guys that have been watching over the years that never thought this day would come either, but I'm back and I've been having a blast. I was just sitting down and thinking about it. I haven't really enjoyed DayZ this much for years. Probably 2017 was the last time I've actually sat down and played this much DayZ. Throughout the years, I would always go back, play a couple of sessions, hang out with a few friends, maybe do a collaboration, especially when we've been all waiting for a brand new Escape for Tarkov wipe and there hasn't really been much going on in the other games that have been released. I always go take a peek, maybe play a little Namalsk, get bullied a little bit, but there hasn't really been great days. Like, I'll go and play some DayZ, roam around, nothing too crazy happens or really exciting, I get bored, and I just move on and play something else. And every single time I would come back and play DayZ, I would always end up playing Namalsk, which isn't bad. Like, I do like playing on Namalsk, but I would frequently get a little exhausted playing it. I felt like it was really extreme at times, where you have to stand next to campfires to get your heat buffs far more than you do in Frostline. And then also the amount of loot that's available and the locations on where you get that loot are very minimal. So you're constantly just beating each other down with fresh spawns, and it can get a little bit old. I like Namalsk. I think we wouldn't have Frostline in the state that it's in right now if it wasn't for Namalsk. But I do feel like Frostline offers something similar that might not be as hardcore with a different kind of style. Almost like Winter Chernarus. Last year, Winter Chernarus was popular for a little while, and I jumped on that, and it was super, super fun. And that's one of the reasons why I was excited to check out Frostline, because I felt like I wanted a survival challenge similar to Namalsk that just wasn't on that map. I like it. I like the map. I'm trying my best to not insult the Namalsk guys, because I know some of you could be a little sensitive. It's a really good map. It's a fun experience. Don't get me wrong. I just personally prefer DayZ Frostline Sakal more. Now, you wouldn't have Sakal and DayZ Frostline if it wasn't for Namalsk, and we have a lot of really cool features in the survival mechanics that were introduced that are taken from the Namalsk system and changed to become more official. For example, the heat buff, a genius idea. If you sit next to a campfire long enough, you get a heat buff, which is the little plus indicator next to your temperature gauge. On Namalsk, you only had one level of heat buff, but you also had something called frost resistance. The longer your character stayed alive in the cold, the more naturally resistant you would become, and you would be less likely to have to build a fire as quickly. In Frostline, you have multiple stages of temperature gauge. You have +1, +2, and +3, and those stages could be acquired by doing different things, like wearing really warm clothes while sitting next to a fire, for a long period of time, where you choose to build the fire, inside, outside, in a blizzard, in a mountain, in a cold area. There's a lot of things that can affect it. Even standing in warm hot springs can give you heat buffs, and those heat buffs are obtainable faster, it seems, than Namalsk, and they last longer than Namalsk unless you're doing certain conditions, like running on snow reduces your heat buff, eating cold food or drinking cold water reduces your heat buff, that kind of stuff. But there is not frost resistance in Sakal, so the longer your character survives, you don't gain natural frost resistance yet. It would be cool if they added that in, but that's just not the case. Another feature that's in Namalsk that I would actually like to see in Sakal is the frostbite feature. So if you go long periods of time without hand wraps, face wraps, feet wraps, that kind of stuff, you'll just get frostbite, and that reduces your overall stamina. It encourages players to actually build things like improvised face wraps and hand wraps to cover those locations. I know it's something that's like pretty simple, or if you're wearing like damp shoes or damp gloves, a damp scarf, that will increase your risk of getting frostbite. I don't think it would be a bad thing to add to Sakal. I don't think it's going to really change the experience by that much, but just little survival quirks that are in the Namalsk that could be introduced into Sakal. Now, I'm entering the bro science here a little bit because I don't have the actual numbers, but playing Namalsk and then playing Frostline, it does feel like insulated clothing on Frostline is more effective than it is on Namalsk. I always felt like whenever I was wearing the best insulated clothes, I still had to sit next to a fire for a long period of time just to get my heat buff. And when I'm playing Frostline, I don't really have to sit next to the fire all that long. I go through the process of making it, but you get your heat buff really quick and then you're back on your way. I feel like it's a much better and more fun system in this. It's more refined, I guess, for more natural gameplay, maybe for slightly less immersion. But then also the clothing itself just feels more effective. There's more of a reward to actually getting some of the best insulated clothing and making sure your character is well warm than Namalsk, where I always felt even if I had the best gear, I still was struggling to maintain my temperature. Another really cool thing that was added with Frostline was the fishing rework, and it's super powerful, almost some would say too powerful, but it's made some really cool encounters with other players. Fishing is just crazy. Like, you can make a fishing rod pretty quick. A lot of people are opting to kill other players and like use their guts to make a rope and then make a fishing rod with their guts and then use their bones to make hooks. Or you can now make wooden hooks with sticks, which is nice. Dig up some worms and go fishing, and you're catching fish left, right, and center with they have some fire barrels right next to the shore or taking it to a stove. You got some really easy, accessible food on this map. And also, like I said, that makes some really crazy encounters because a lot of new spawns are going to be fishing right out the gate. So you're going to be encouraged to either try to steal somebody's fish, work together, start up a fish barbecue, or try to defend your supplies from other people that are trying to take yours. So it's all about choosing whether or not you want to work with that random stranger who's fishing on the beach or try to steal his fish for yourself and try to make a getaway before the other new spawns realize what you're doing. I think the biggest piece of criticism for Sakal so far from what I've seen is the loot balance. I have noticed that today specifically, there seems to be more things spawning, like more 357 revolvers, more blowtorches, more Desert Eagles, a wider variety of weapons, at least today from my personal experience. That could have just been luck as opposed to the last couple of days. So I don't know if they actually did a tweak to the looting. It certainly feels that way, but I do like some of it where instead of going for hunting stands and hunting lodges for that loot, for that like bolt action rifle, the Mosin, the CZ550, the CR527, you go into the interior towns of the map, and those interior towns have a good chance of spawning hunter tier loot. There's also some very unique locations in some towns that can spawn hunting loot or military supplies. There's lots of medical military combos, like medical triage centers that have a really interesting mix of supplies. And then also the new DayZ looting system, new to me, probably old to some of you, where if you're in the proximity of a military area, even some of the houses that are around that location can spawn some military gear. It is more difficult, I find, to acquire firearms with ammunition, at least at the beginning. But I've noticed that I haven't been struggling nearly as much finding weapons the more that I've been playing and the more inland I've been traveling. But that being said, finding full AK-74s or AKMs, SVDs, that is far more difficult than a lot of the other maps because you either have to get really lucky in a military camp or you have to go and do the bunker where you have to cross this really sketchy land bridge. You have to take somebody with you. I don't really have footage of successfully doing the bunker, but I have been sniping people near the bunker and use like a glow plug to get in there to unlock different doors. And there's amazing loot that's in there. There's also these crates that can spawn randomly on the islands outside if you either swim to them or find a boat, and they can spawn NATO weapons like M4s, but it's very rare to find them. But all this talk about features, comparison to Namalsk, comparing it to Sakal, the types of weapons you can find, the loot balance, and all these little features, I'm just bringing that up because it just makes the experience so much more interesting. But the most important part about DayZ is the people that you meet along the way. I happen to be playing on a pretty decent server that's full of crazy and wacky characters, and that is truly what makes a DayZ experience so good. And I've been lucky enough for the last 2 weeks to have gotten some of the craziest and wackiest situations that I haven't got for years playing DayZ. Every single time I go back, most of the time it's been a mediocre experience, and I've had some of the best DayZ moments I've had in years playing playing Frostline.
I thought we are friends already.
I don't think so. I think it's time to go there. I think it's time to go,
No!
but
This poor guy just has
I'll take a bullet for you. How about that? I'll protect you.
I'm a busy man that has places to be and things to explore. But you're happy to pick through this body, and you're welcome to the base right there. I think I'm gonna skedaddle out of this situation. You know, listen, I am like pretty fucking sure this guy is his buddy.
And I've been sharing those moments here on YouTube, but then also there's lots of VODs. So all the unedited, like just crazy situations that I've been getting into are here on YouTube and on Twitch too. But that has been the game changer. That has truly been the reason why I've been addicted to DayZ again and why I've been back so much. Another big part is I love the look of Sakal. I think the map itself is one of the most beautiful maps that they've ever done. The skybox, the environment, it feels like a real place. I was just talking about that in Delta Force, and my opinions on Delta Force video, where one of the reasons why I didn't like that game that much is simply because I don't feel immersed in the world. Sakal is just crazy. Like, I feel like I'm there. It's wild, man. Like, and it also reminds me of the original Chernarus, where if you're going to a military base, you're going to be looting military tents. You're going to be looting military barracks. You're going to an airfield. The classic DayZ military looting experience. You're glassing the airfield. You're sniping players at a distance. You're tracking them down after they get hunted by wolves. Maybe you get attacked by a bear. You stumble into bandits in the middle of the woods. You meet some random survivor. You two go on an epic adventure for an hour or two, only for you two to have to rely on each other to survive a crazy situation. That is something that most other games that compete with DayZ have a really hard time emulating. And I do feel like that's one of the biggest reasons why many people are still playing DayZ 11 years after it's released. And one of the biggest reasons why I've come back to the game and just really enjoying it. So I know there will likely come a point where I'll get a little bit burned out playing some DayZ Frostline, but I gotta say, I'm super excited to be back, and I'm really happy to see some of the OGs of this channel, some of the people that without you, I would not be where I am today. It's great to come back and talk to some of you guys and share some of these wacky stories with you as well. So let me know what you guys think about DayZ Sakal in the comment section below. I'm eager to hear what you guys have to say. And if you haven't already checked out either the shorts about DayZ or some of the videos that we've been uploading with the moments from DayZ Frostline, I highly recommend that you check that out here at youtube.com/DeadlySlob. There's new videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, shorts Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and live streams Monday through Friday starting at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.